paid by the hour. Lynn says, I hope you're funny. I said, there's nothing funnier than a 50-year-old man playing a ukulele, is there? That's got to be the funniest thing there is. That's what this is. I know it looks like the Jetsons landed, but it's a ukulele, okay? Actually, where is it? Let me just show you something. This is not what I started out to be. Let me come over here and show you what happened. There's a story behind all of this, you see. See, I'm Italian. No applause, see that? And when I was a kid, my parents had 14 children. Yeah, they never heard about birth control back then, huh? Not tonight, I have a headache, right? 14 kids! After the 10th child, my father went to my mother. She said, Angie. My father went to my mother and said, hey, Angie, let's have another child. She said, Tony, we can't have another child. We can't afford another child. We can't fit another child in this house. My body can't take having another child. And my father, he honored my mother. He respected her. He loved her. He didn't have another child with her. He had four with the lady next door. They got a name for those kids. It's not a nice thing, Pastor. I have to say it. You know what they call them? They call them neighbors. Yeah. I was one of those. I was a neighbor. So when my father said, Pop, there's something wrong with me. I was 12 years old. He said, what's the matter? I said, I'm not like the rest of the kids in the family. He said, what are you trying to say? I said, they all sing, they all dance, they all play instruments, they act. He said, so? I said, so I ain't got no talent. He said, you can't speak English too good either. What do you mean you ain't got no talent? I said, I ain't got no talent. There's something wrong with me. He says, what do you think's wrong with you? I said, I'll tell you something. I think I was adopted. He said, why would we adopt you? We have 14 kids. I said, I don't know, there's something wrong, Pop. You got to give it to me straight. And he thought about me, looked at me, said, son, we never want to tell you this, but it's true. You were adopted. I said, I knew it. I knew there was something different about me. I said, what happened? He said, the people brought you back after a month. They didn't want you anymore. I said, well. I said, well, we got to do something, Pop. He says, all right, I'll tell you what. He says, take this. I said, yeah? He says, yeah, this will make you a lot of money. I said, well, that looks simple enough. I said, thanks, Pop. He said, no problem. So every day, I shook it, I hit it, I stepped on it, I waved it around. 25 years later, I didn't make any money. I went back to my father and said, Pop, something's wrong. It's not working. He said, what do you mean it's not working? I said, look, I'm shaking it, I'm moving around, I'm hitting it, I'm stomping on it. He says, no, that's not what you're supposed to do with it. I said, what are you supposed to do? He said, beg, you'll get lots of money. But I learned to play the instruments anyway. So I didn't feel good today. I got one of those Italian stomachs, you know what I mean? Agita, you know. Everything kills me. Called the doctor, I said, doctor, I don't feel good. He said, what do you want me to do about it? I said, you're the doctor. What do you mean, what do you want me to do? I said, I don't feel good. He said, so? I said, so I want you to come to my house. He said, hey, we don't come to your house anymore. Who remembers when the doctor used to come to your house? You remember that for $5 you get? Hey, they don't come to your house anymore. You got to go to them. I said, you don't understand, Doc. I am dying. What if I die? He said, then we can come to your house. we can make arrangements for that. But unless you die, he said, wait a minute. Before you come in, what's your insurance policy? I said, I got Prudential. He said, don't bother coming. We don't take that. Is this terrible or what? So I made myself into the doctor this morning because I said, I got to make this show today. I went in there and I told him everything that was wrong with me. He said, you know what your problem is, Larry? It's all in your head. You think you have problems. You think you're sick. You think you're dying. I said, is that it? He says, it's as simple as that. I said, you wouldn't lie to me, Doc, would you? He says, I wouldn't lie to you. That's all it is. And I said, I feel so much better. He said, here, take a calendar. So I took the calendar and I looked at it. I said, wait a minute, Doc. This calendar's only got 3 months on it. He said, you won't need the rest of them. So, anyway, do you like my shirt here, huh? What do you think of that, huh? Yeah, you know what? This is my Christmas present from 1965. It don't fit like it used to. Very poor workmanship, huh? Yeah. They got the Livingston Mall, they got the Rockaway Mall, they got the Willowbrook Mall. You look, if you don't mind, you look old enough. Remember when we didn't have malls? You remember? When you needed a refrigerator, where did you go? Tell them. 2 guys from Harrison. Don't be ashamed, I went there too. You needed a lawnmower, where did you go? 2 guys from Harrison. If you wanted to get a date, where did you go? Well, that's where I went. I was desperate. So I got this at 2 guys from Harrison. Yeah, things used to be different back then. Things are changing. But you know something? Like I said, I come from this dysfunctional Italian family, and I know we're in church, but I have to tell you something. I had to get married. There we have it. I'm Italian. You know what it means when you have to get married? And you're Italian? No, don't look at me that way. No, that's not what I meant. I better explain this. You see, every girl I brought home wasn't good enough for my little Italian mother. I bring home my girl. I said, Ma, this is my new girlfriend. She'd say, can she cook? I said, no, Ma, she can't cook. She said, you gotta get rid of her. Bring home another girl. I said, Ma, this is my new girlfriend. She said, can she sew? I said, no, Ma, she can't sew. She said, you gotta get rid of her. I brought home another girl. I said, Ma, this is my new girlfriend. She said, can she clean the house? I said, hey, Ma, she got a job. She works all day. She can't clean the house. She said, you gotta get rid of her. Every girl I brought home wasn't good enough for my little Italian mother until I brought home my Italian girlfriend. Ah. She cooked like my mother, she cleaned like my mother, she walked like my mother, she talked like my mother, she even looked like my mother. My mother loved her. My father hated her. He says, she reminds me of your mother, you gotta get rid of her. Yes. So we got married anyway, I married her. I'd like to... It's been a rough 30 years. Being in love with the same woman for 30 years and not being able to tell my wife about it. But I remember our wedding night. And I'll get to the instruments. We're here all day, don't worry about it. The food isn't coming out until tomorrow, so we're okay. But it was our wedding night. And I'll never forget my wife 30 years ago. She was lying on the bed in the hotel, and she was in a pink chiffon nightgown. Her hair was all done, her nails, and she looked so beautiful lying there. She looked so peaceful. She looked so serene. I hated to wake her up. But you see, in New Jersey, it's a law that on your wedding night, if you and your wife don't, if the 2 of you don't, there's a word for that. What do they call that word? If you don't constipate the marriage, right? You got it? Constipate the marriage? What's the word? Look, help me. You might have consummated yours, but ours was constipated right from the start. So I figured I better constipate the marriage, so I went into the bathroom. And in there, on the table, they had, the hotel has compliments, a cologne that said, guaranteed to make you smell like a movie star. I said, I need all the help I can get. So I put this stuff all over me. And it worked. It really worked. I smelled like a movie star. I smelled just like Lassie. So anyway, I walked in and I saw my wife and she was sleeping and I said, honey, wake up, it's your husband. And she didn't move. She was just laying there. I got a little nervous. I said, honey, wake up, it's your husband. She did not move at all. Now I was panicking. I started shaking her. I started moving her and I said, honey, please, wake up. It's your husband. And she opened her eyes and looked around. She said, quick, hide me someplace. I hope you get it when you go home. Sorry, Pastor. I heard this was one of those progressive churches. We'll go back to the part about me being Italian. When I was a kid, I went to Catholic school. Went to Our Lady of Connie Francis right down there. Everybody cried, even Connie, when she came. So anyway, I went to Catholic school. And it was in the 50s. And back in the 50s in Catholic school, I was the only Italian kid. Everybody else was Irish. Yeah, I was the only Italian kid. You know how they knew I was Italian? I had a 6-foot lunch every day. And my mother, she would put salami, pepperoni, gabagool. Then she'd put olive oil on it, in it, through it, around it. I didn't walk to school, I slid. And if they didn't see me coming, they sure could smell me. I was embarrassed. I shoved it under my desk. I said, maybe they won't know it's there. Unless you bury it, they're going to know it's there. The little girl next to me, she was Irish. Really cute girl. She had different lunches than I did. She'd have bologna and mayonnaise, Swiss cheese and mayonnaise, peanut butter jelly and mayonnaise, mayonnaise and mayonnaise. I said, I think I'm going to get sick looking at your lunch. She said, well, don't look now, but yours left a big puddle right over there. So we have these Italian Christmases, you know. And if you're not Italian, maybe there are a lot of, I see a lot of people that look very white bread here, so. This is how an Italian Christmas starts. It starts in August. By going for, you guessed it, the bacala. My mother said, I've got to go and get a beer, the bacala. I said, Ma, it's August. Oh, it takes a lot of time to cook. It's August. She would get it, then she would soak it for 2 months. She would then cook it for another month. Then it would sit on the table for another 3 weeks. And then finally, Christmas Eve would come. And there it was, the center of all of our food, the bacala. And they'd come around, my uncles and my aunts would say, oh, look at that bacala. Is that not a beautiful bacala? Angie, where'd you get that bacala? I got it from Tony down at the fish market. This special piece just for me. They say, we would pray to it. We would talk to it. We would take pictures of it. We just wouldn't eat it. Oh, gosh. Then a fight would break out between my father and my uncle as who's going to eat the first piece of the bacala. You see, because back then you'd have the adult table and the children's table. Now my parents had 14 kids, and you figure all the aunts and uncles, there was a lot of people before you would get to go to the adult table. I was 37 years old when I finally got to the adult table. And so the fight would break out, you see? About who the man is. The man gets the first piece of the bacala. And my Uncle Angelo would say, hey, Nick, I'm going to get the first piece. Well, they would have a fight, and my father would always win. And he would get the first piece of the bacala. And he looked at me and said, son, one of these days, you and your brother Nunzio, you're going to fight it out for the first piece of the bacala. And it happened. After they passed away, it was my turn to fight with my brother. And I won. I won the fight. I got the first piece of the bacala. And after I ate it, I said, Nunzio, from now on, you can have it. I think that's where I got the stomach from, that bacala. I think it's still in there. Anyway, so it's been a lot of years since then, and everybody's come and gone, and I'm not as young as I used to be. My wife says, look at you. Look at you. I said, what's the matter? She said, you're not the man that I married. I said, what? She said, you're not the man that I married. I said, you better go and get him. I've been paying the bills for 25 years. Let him pay them. What do you mean I'm not the man that you married? She said, you're getting old. I said, I am. She says, yes, we've got to do something about it. I said, okay, I'll do something about it. I went out and I got Just for Men. Hair color. I came back. I said, okay, you happy now? I dyed my hair. There. Now I look younger. She says, wait a minute, what did you use? I said, I used Just for Men. She said, at $12 a box. Take it back. I bought about 6 boxes. She says, you're going to use what I use, Just for Women. said, isn't that dangerous? She said, no, just for women, it's $4 a box. So I went out and I got it. Dyed my hair. Looked exactly the same, only now I got a closet full of dresses I don't know what to do with. I think I used too much.
We want to thank you. This has just been, we just had a lot of fun. And I wish my parents could be here, my grandmother.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, I'm not really young.
Older people really like me.
Older